It promoted equality, opposed caste discrimination, and offered a language accessible to the masses, significantly impacting ancient Indian social thought, literature, and ethical philosophy. Being the lingua franca of the time of the Buddha, these words of the Buddha are directly concerned with the well-being of the humanity and fully capable of guiding the people to mitigate their suffering and realize potentials that this Pali literature contains. Friends, if we go back to the history, more than 2,500 years, Pali was a colloquial language of the northern part of India, where Gautam the Buddha made his charika, the sublime wandering, for Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya, till the time when he passed away, Mahaparinibbana, and he gave his discourses for the benefit of people and for making people come out of suffering, from suffering to cessation of suffering. Within 3 months after the demise, as you all know, that the words of the Buddha were compiled and the tradition of Dhamma Sangiti started, where all the words initially were compiled orally, but later on, by the by 1st century AD in Sri Lanka, it was written down. Until now, we have these 6 councils, Buddhist Sangiti, Dhamma Sangiti, which have been keeping and protecting the words of the Buddha. Friends, in addition to the Tipitak, which we find, which contains the words of the Buddha, there are enormous numbers of commentaries, Attakatha, sub-commentaries, tikas, written by the great commentator since ancient time and are valuable contribution to the Pali literature. The tradition of compiling commentary in Pali still continues in many countries like Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand. Since Pali has now been given the status of a classical language, I feel by the government of India, I feel more work would be done on this line. Not only does Pali literature contains an invaluable treasure of Indian civilization, including culture, religion, philosophy, but it also contains the great contribution of the unique message of the Buddha, which emphasizes the importance of human values found in the practice of Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. The Buddha delivered his first sermon in Varanasi at Sarnath, where he talked about his middle path, the Dhammacakkapavatana Sutta. Friends, this teaching which permeates throughout the Pali literature and later on is something which needs to be practiced. I was happy when Professor Siddharth Singh mentioned about when he talked about Dhamma, and he talked about the Pariyatti Dhamma, Patipatti Dhamma, and Pativeda Dhamma. It's very important. Only Pariyatti and Patipatti can make us, peaceful and all, but unless and until we experience it, Pativeda takes place, it has got no value. So you can understand how systematically Buddha tried to bring all these things to make people realize. His purpose was not to just give discourses, but to make people understand what they are talking, and to experience it. And the best example is the first discourse of the Buddha, where he is not only giving the discourse, but he is trying to monitoring also the 5 mendicants. And when one of them got into the state of enlightenment, he was so happy. He said, "Oh, you've got it. Ayya kondayo." So it's like something which is being practiced. So unless and until we have Buddhist studies, Pali studies, but we are not practicing and we are not experiencing, I think it has got no value. Anyway, readers of this literature, scholars and seekers who wish to know truly rich heritage of ancient India might think that although apparently the wisdom expounded by the Buddha has disappeared from India, but in reality it flows to the subsequent Indian literature, Sanskrit literature which followed it, as well as the writings of the regional languages, is full of benevolent teaching of the Buddha. The literature of the medieval saints of India is suffused with the wisdom of the Buddha. when the words of the Buddha become available in their authentic form, to an analytical and comparative study of them will show that India is greatly indebted to Buddha for his innovative thought.